We've got our week 9 news and notes and our Thursday night breakdown, baby. Let's get it. You don't like that?
Let's get it.
Let's get
Nah,
it.
fucking keep it. I just don't know what to do during that like 30 seconds. I'm like,
what is up, everybody? Welcome in to the Fantasy Tap. Woo! It is time for our news and notes segment. Plus, we've got our Thursday night breakdown. John, look at that. Look at those pearly whites. How you doing, son?
these big bright lights I got in the room, they make them look really good. It's nice.
Yeah.
I wish I could carry these lights around everywhere with me.
It's like one of those things you put in your mouth. Those lights, you know?
A lollipop? Oh.
No, those lights, those big ass lights that you put people are like, oh, connect this to your phone and it makes your teeth whiter. You've never seen those?
No, but you're gonna have to send it to me so I can start.
I will definitely send it to you. It was like the biggest thing on Instagram like 2 years ago.
Christmas is right around the corner, so don't be afraid.
I'll get you one. But anyways, guys, we've got, like I said, we got our news and notes and then our Thursday night breakdown. Before we jump into that, if you could smash that like button, hit that subscribe button and the little bell right next to it. We would greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Greatly.
We might even send you a virtual hug.
Virtual hug right here. Bring it in. Okay. All right, guys. Unfortunately, we're going to start with the shitty news. And that's going to be Henry Ruggs. Okay. We've all seen, if you haven't seen what happened, you all know what happened. Unfortunately, he was, had a BAC of 0.161, so double the legal limit in Nevada. Driving his car up to 156 miles an hour, ended up wrecking at 121 miles an hour. Somebody in the other car passed away, the other driver, and the dog. Yeah, and a dog. First off, we like to have fun and stuff like that, but if you're ever in a situation like that, call an Uber, call a Lyft, please. This shouldn't have happened. But it is what it is. Call family, call friends.
Yeah, your family and friends would appreciate a phone call from you more than anyone else. Hospital, police officers. Be safe, be smart. And condolences out to the family.
Be responsible.
Condolences out to the family of the driver. Very, very sad news for that woman. But as far as Henry Ruggs, he was released from the Las Vegas Raiders and has been given a bond of $150,000 and will start going to court, or should be back in court in the beginning of November in the next week or so. So more than likely his football career is done. And as far as that's that.
Yeah, I mean, watch how it plays out. Dynasty value went to crap. I'm not even gonna lie. This is a sad situation and stuff like that. And it's horrible that we even have to talk about it. But as far as dynasty value, I hate that this comes into play, like his fantasy value. Redraft, you can drop him. He's not playing this year. He's more than likely not playing for a few years if he ever plays again. I did trade for him, a low end pick just to have him on my roster. I had an extra spot, dynasty wise. So, I mean, you can do that if you want, but more than likely his career is over.
Yeah. I traded him away for that low end third round pick.
Yeah.
I don't expect him to come back.
Yeah, I don't. I really don't. But, like John said, we're praying for the family. And Henry Ruggs is definitely not, it's not easy. He made the mistake, but it's not easy on him either, his family especially. So let's move on, though, okay, to somebody else who's got daddy issues. That's OBJ, all right?
Daddy issues. Let's get on the brighter side of this. Mr. Ego showing it even more. I guess it runs in the family.
Yeah, LeBron James was tweeting for him, free OBJ.
Yeah.
He is looking to be, or not looking to be. There are reports that he is going to be released soon. He showed up to practice. However, the Browns did not allow him to go to practice.
They excused him for the day.
Go to your daddy, son. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at on that.
Yeah.
So OBJ,
We're gonna in the next day or so, we're gonna see OBJ signed to the Lakers.
yeah, seriously. John, is OBJ's fall off the worst in NFL history?
So I've never been a huge. I would like to say yeah, but also no at the same time. I would say the biggest fall off, even though it had a rebirth, was Michael Vick.
Yeah, it had
I think it had a rebirth.
Eminem.
We don't know the end. We don't know the end story of OBJ yet. The story is still being written every day. I personally am someone that always has been in the mindset of OBJ has been a very good receiver, but because of his loud voice and because of some of the flashy plays and how much publicity it got, I think he's always been a little overhyped. So I think
his first
that
3 years were fire, dude. His first 3 years were record setting.
He's very, very good receiver. I would say he's comparative to today's caliber receivers. I would say he's someone on like the Calvin Ridley level, or, you know, someone that when he was young was super flashy, could make huge plays, was very, very talented. But fall from grace, yeah, absolutely. Ever since that boat pick, there's been nothing from OBJ, even in his time in Cleveland. And I don't think it's all Baker's fault. And obviously, if you watch the video, his dad really wants to sell it on that point. But even in the video, they literally stop the clips as soon as OBJ is open and the defender makes a mistake. And then you still see that ball getting thrown. It just happens to be a second or two later because it took Baker time to recognize OBJ is open. Even in the clips, there's no expectations for him to make some of those catches. They're thrown mediocrely. He's still getting some targets, but I don't know. I just think OBJ is working his way into a very bad situation, and I think he's going to be out of the league in like a few years.
I don't think he'll be out of the league, but I do think that I don't think it's going to be pretty. Listen, at the end of the day, this is a rushing first team.
Yeah.
That's the issue. That is the issue. There was no big time running back there in New York. You know, during OBJ's tenure. There was no Saquon Barkley, you know, maybe at the end of it. But they literally this year, they have run the ball 250 times. They have thrown the ball 240 times. That's what the Cleveland Browns offense and team is based around. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, those two guys. You only need Jarvis Landry. That's why Jarvis Landry's been one of the most productive receivers on the team or has been the most productive. I mean, obviously Odell Beckham's been injured and stuff like that, but even when he's on the field, the reason is they just need a possession receiver. They don't need a big play guy. They don't need somebody who can stretch a field and catch, have over 1,300 receiving yards year in and year out. They don't need that. They just need a couple guys who can catch the ball for a couple thousand yards or like a couple thousand yards in total. Like 800 yards. If you have 3 to 4 guys like that offense will be fine. It is a run-first offense. That is his struggles. I do not think it's Baker's. I think Baker can be a fine quarterback, but they're not throwing the ball a ton.
No, they're not in a situation where they need to. The whole reason that OBJ requested his absence from the New York Giants outside of the manic episodes he was having on the sideline was the fact that Saquon Barkley came in there and was getting all of those targets out of that running back position in his rookie year and was becoming an absolute stud, working his way to the face of the team. And as Daniel Jones or Eli Manning was on his way out, and OBJ doesn't like to share the spotlight. Baker's been getting a lot of it so far the past year and a half out of Cleveland with all these commercials, with him taking the Browns to the first playoff run in the long time. I'm not saying Baker's an amazing quarterback. I don't think Baker is the answer in Cleveland, but I also don't think he's the problem when it comes to OBJ's production. I think OBJ is someone that just needs to understand that football is a team sport and not about him, especially on a team that doesn't need him to be.
They don't need him to be what he was. No, they don't. They really don't. Let's move on. Aaron Rodgers tested positive for COVID. He is not vaccinated, and he will miss this week's game. So Jordan Love is getting the start. We got a question because this will tie into our Thursday night preview. We did get a question. These are the only two options, I guess. Who would you start for in your super flex spot? Mike White or Jordan Love, John?
I think I'm playing Jordan Love. They're playing against the Kansas City Chiefs. And so at this point, when you got two quarterbacks that you don't really know who you can trust, you kind of just go with which defense is going to give up the most points. And I think that's going to be the Chiefs. Mike White's gotten 2 career starts. Might have had a 400-yard game, but you're definitely not going to be expecting that, especially with a team like the Jets going against the Indianapolis Colts. I don't want to be taking huge shots on him. I'd rather take Love.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. It's not just the Colts. It's the Colts coming off of a loss, a big loss that they need to bounce back from. So, Saquon, this is kind of weird. He tested positive, and then he tested negative. Okay, but they still added him to the reserve COVID list. And there's speculation that that's due to the ankle. I don't think he's playing this week. It's just my gut feeling. No news or anything like that. I don't think he's playing this week. I think that ankle needs time to heal. So I think it's still time for Devontae Booker.
Yeah, there's current reports are indicating that it is more than likely going to be one more week of Devontae Booker before they start trying to push Saquon. So it does actually sound like you're right. They are sort of feeling a little hesitation of testing that ankle when there's already possibly some other issues with COVID. Maybe they're using the COVID as an excuse to extend this ankle injury without putting a name on that. Either way, it does indicate we are going to have another week of no Saquon Barkley. Hopefully you guys didn't draft him and listen to us.
Hey, I'm just KBKC. I'm sorry, buddy.
I mean, someone had to take him in a league. Hopefully he was in the second round.
Yeah. I did almost take him in the second round. I will say that. He fell to me. My first running back was Aaron Jones, but luckily he got taken, and Austin Eckler fell to me. So I love that. CMC, he is designated to come back from IR. He was designated today. So keep an eye out on that. See if he plays. Being that he's designated back, should play. What capacity do you think he plays if he comes back or if he does play?
At this point, it's kind of hesitant. I mean, he's coming back limited into practice this week. I think that they give him at least 60 to 80% of his normal workload. I don't expect a full 100%. But it's interesting because the Panthers are in a position to where they can make a run for the playoffs still, even though they've had some terrible games. So it's really up to if Rule wants to push CMC to continue this run. And I mean, if he gets injured again, then at that point you just got to hang it up for the season.
Yeah, he's a must start no matter what.
You're still playing him.
But I agree. I do think he's going to be a little bit limited, but Chuba hasn't been the best, he's not been the most efficient. But it is what it is. Some more bad news. Derrick Henry out 6 to 10 weeks. 6 would be very fast. 10 would be
that sucks.
Longer. 8 is probably more realistic. So pretty much the season. Jeremy McNichols is there. Adrian Peterson has been signed to the Titans. We talked about it a little bit so far. We talked about it. We're going to talk about it looking into the future in our must starts and sits. So keep an eye out for that. I think it's going to be a running back by committee. I don't think that either AP or Jamie McNichols are going to, really, they're going to go by the hot hand approach. Whoever is running the best at that game, that point in time, that's who's going to be toting the ball. I don't think it's going to be predictable. So, we'll see. I think Jeremy McNichols has the best shot up front in the first couple games. But at the end of the day, I don't think either of them are worth a start.
Yeah, I'm expecting them to turn to a much heavier passing offense over the next week. My problem is, what does that look like for Tennessee?
Ryan Tannehill gets an upgrade.
Does he though?
100%.
Or has his ability to really for the teams to be able to key in on Derrick Henry there and still being unable to stop him? Does this make it more difficult for Ryan Tannehill to move the ball through the air?
No,
it
does. It does make it more difficult, but you got to remember, an interception is only 2 points. 2 negative points at the end of the day. That's why we see these guys have 2, 3 interceptions sometimes, and still finish as a top 12, fantasy quarterback. So as maybe football wise, yes, but at the end of the day, I think that one, it helps his rushing upside, because he can move. I think he gets maybe some more rushing opportunities and rushing touchdowns. And two, they're gonna have to sling the ball. Because I think, like I said, it's gonna be a hot hand committee, and they'll run the ball as much as they can. They're not gonna be able to run it like they would if Derrick Henry's there. Obviously, nobody can replace that. But he's gonna have to throw. He's gonna have to throw at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I'd agree.
I do think it upgrades him.
All right.
Quick on this, Michael Thomas, setback on his ankle. He is out for the year. Unfortunately, can't do anything about it. If he was on your IR, which that's the only time we set to draft him. If you had an IR spot, he'd go right on your IR and sit there, but you can drop him.
He's probably been sitting there all year anyways.
Oh, yeah, that's the only spot. If he's on your roster, if he's on your active roster, then that was no bueno. Russell Wilson, he is nearing returning. He is Mr. Unlimited, doing Mr. Unlimited things. He has started to throw the ball lightly. I saw a video of him throwing to his trainer about 5 to 10 yards away. Not too far, but still just starting to throw with a little brace on his fingers. So good to see. I need him to come back. This week, I squeaked out a win with Cooper Rush because I have Dak Prescott. So, Cooper Rush did pretty well. But actually, no, I'm sorry. In that league, I had Evan Ingram. I had to play Evan Ingram in my Superflex spot because I couldn't get Cooper Rush. Still won. Squeaked out a win. Barely.
Hey.
He caught a touchdown.
Whatever it takes, dude.
He got a touchdown. As soon as it went to him in the end zone, I was like, oh, my gosh, I love this.
Luckily, you were close enough because he had a rough week too.
Yeah. So did not get traded.
No, still there. Sadly. Happy to his family. Sadly to fantasy owners everywhere.
Well, maybe he gets more opportunity because Sterling Shepard.
You've been saying that for 4 years.
He got a couple targets this week and he got a touchdown. That's all I'm saying. He got me the dub. If he didn't get a touchdown, I've been screwed. Jameis Winston tore his ACL, unfortunately. I don't know, John, did you see the video between Bruce Arians and Sean Payton after the Bucs Saints game?
No, I haven't.
So they walk up to each other and shake each other's hands, and you can kind of read lips. Bruce Arians says, "How is Jameis?" And Sean Payton says, "It looks like an ACL, MCL." And yeah, Bruce Arians' face kind of, says, "Oh no." Well, yes, he did tear his ACL, unfortunately. And there has been no starter named yet. Taysom Hill came back today to practice, or Wednesday back to practice in a limited fashion. So no starter has been named. What does that mean for the rest of the Saints?
I think that just means it honestly, for me, it depends on which quarterback comes into play. Taysom Hill is going to play a completely different game than if Trevor Siemian continues to play out. And if they decide to take the shot on Ian Book, which I think is their last option in the situation, we have no idea what would be coming from that. Last week, we did see Alvin Kamara even take some sort of a mid downgrade once we saw Trevor Siemian come in. We did see him airing the ball out more towards the receivers, which is not what the Jameis Winston nor Drew Brees have done with Alvin Kamara throughout the past few seasons. So I think he might take a slight downgrade regardless if it's Siemian or Taysom Hill in there. But I do see a slight upgrade in consistency to guys like possibly Marquez Callaway or Deontay Harris.
All right. It's going to be rough for me. Alvin Kamara to me is a must start no matter who starts. And then Marquez Callaway and Deontay Harris, I would like it if Trevor Siemian started, because I think it won't be as heavy as a rushing attack. But, we'll see. We'll just have to keep an eye out on that.
Who do you think starts as of right now, if you had to take the guess?
Taysom.
You think I would say so too. He's just got the most experience behind the ball right now.
That on top of, you got to remember, he was challenging Jameis, the entire offseason. Most people thought that Taysom was gonna win the starting QB spot.
Yeah.
I mean, most mainstream media, at least, not the Fantasy Tap. Fantasy Tap did not. So I'm
Fantasy
just
Tap is
saying.
on top of it.
I'm patting ourselves on the back.
Hey.
We are not heavily funded. We are very lightly funded.
Lightly. we are deep in the red, guys.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
We've received zero funding.
Zero funding. If you want to send us $1, I'll post my Snapchat or my Venmo right here.
Snapchat.
All right. AJ Green positive for COVID. John says he's possibly afraid to show up.
I think he's just afraid to show his face in that locker room. He doesn't want to see Kyler. He's like, hey guys, I can't come in. I tested positive. No, you guys might want to get tested.
Looking like I believe he is out for this week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he is out for the week.
So that's an upgrade on Christian Kirk, and potentially Rondale Moore becomes a flex option. They started to get the ball to him a lot last week.
Yeah, towards the end we did see it.
Dak Prescott returned to practice in a limited fashion. Hallelujah. Thank the Lord. Good to see that. Hopefully he continues in the correct trend. Last week he did practice a little bit, however, was sore on Friday. And they said, you know what, best that we don't play him. So just keep an eye out on him. And then finally, another thing, mental health. Calvin Ridley is out indefinitely due to he needs to take time away from for mental health and personal issues. Shout out to him though, because obviously, and I will just say this, there should not be anybody upset with Calvin Ridley who does this or who did this, because this took courage and to say, you know what, I need to step back. That's tough. And yes, it may have screwed somebody. It screwed me in fantasy football, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because he's a human being and deserves to, take time for himself if it's needed.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the job for him. This guy's getting paid to show up to work. If we want to take a week off of work because we need to, because we can't function mentally, or we've got something going on, we have that availability, and he does too. Luckily for him, he's made enough money to where he has no problem missing a year from work if he needed to. I know it's a lot harder for some other people, but at least people like that who have this much public view are saying like, hey, I'm going to announce to everyone, I know I'm going to piss off a lot of fans, and I'm going to piss off a lot of fantasy football players, and I might get a lot of flack for this, but I'm still doing this for me. So another nice little notice to the public: worry about yourself.
Yeah.
Be happy.
100%.
Take focus on yourself and make sure that you're happy.
Yep. So, all right. That's it for the news and notes from this week. It was a lot. Also, Von Miller got traded. Von Miller got traded to the Rams. Rams heavily slept on. I keep seeing that the Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFC. You are blind, my friend. Anybody who says that. Look at the Rams. The Rams. Sorry, I'm just very heated about that.
Hey,
I think the Rams are the best team in the NFL.
I don't know who's saying the Cowboys are the best team in the NFC. I mean,
I've seen it all over Twitter. Twitter.
Well,
there's
people on
memes
Twitter
that says,
Mike,
"Oh, y'all really are them boys." Yeah, they're not them boys.
Mike, Twitter is a joke. Nothing is real on Twitter.
But it's also news outlets. I've seen ESPN say it. I've seen people. I mean, they don't have any credibility either, I guess. But the only place you should be getting your news from the Fantasy Tab. We don't have any insider information, and we use all their info, but still, we interpret it correctly. So, anyways, sorry, that was my rant. The Rams are the best team in the NFL. Let's move on to the Thursday night preview, baby. The Jets going to Indianapolis, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, going to Indianapolis. Carson Wentz, in my opinion, should have a top tier or top end quarterback 2 week, low end quarterback 1. That is his. That's where he's finishing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. He's definitely a usable quarterback this week, especially in 2 quarterback leagues. But I do think that this Thursday night game against the Jets could be a little slow. if we don't see them putting up points like they did against the Bengals last week. Like you said, low end quarterback 1 upside in my books, and more than likely high end to mid end quarterback 2.
All right. And then finally, Mike White. Not finally.
Must start.
Mike
start.
White is
Quarterback 1 on the
start.
week.
Don't even, John. Don't listen to this man.
Not a quarterback 1, the quarterback 1.
Shut up.
The man has
Mike
more.
White, you're not starting.
No, don't start him unless you're absolutely in the most desperate of situations, and there's literally no other starting quarterback available to you,
including Jordan Love.
Yeah, including Jordan Love.
We already talked about that. As far as the running backs go, Michael Carter is my sit of the week. I just don't trust him. I don't trust him going up against this defense. I think his saving grace will be the passing game. If you're in any form of PPR league, I think if he can catch the ball a few times, potentially sneak it or get into the end zone, then that'd be great for him. However, I think the Colts take a lead, and I think this is a heavy. Don't want to say it's a blowout, but I think the Jets coming off this big win, they're gonna kind of shit the bed.
Yeah, it's hard to predict games like this because you want to say that they're going to do that, and realistically, it's probably the right prediction. But then out of nowhere, you get games like the Titans, and you get games like the Bengals, where the Jets just decide they're a completely different team. So at that point, you're looking at, if you had to play them, which one of their starters are there. I think that Michael Carter is a solid running back 2 for you this week, especially if Derrick Henry went down for you. I think you can easily throw Michael Carter in that running back 2 spot. Move your running back 2 up to number 1, and I think Michael Carter can get it done for you. Just don't expect last week's opportunities and total touches, touchdowns, and everything like that. Again, mid-end running back 2. Ty Johnson and LaMichael Pirine, though, I'm completely avoiding. Jonathan Taylor, absolute do not bench, must start, rest of the season, should have been there all week or all season. How are you feeling about Nyheim Hines? Do you think there's any sort of situation against the Jets specifically that he can start getting back on some sort of role?
PPR potentially, but honestly, John, we talked about it at the beginning of Thursday nights. How I feel about Thursday night football. There's only going to be a couple people who are fantasy relevant. We're getting later into the season where these shorter weeks matter. And I don't see Nyheim Hines. He could put up a 30-point game. He could put up a dud. And the more likelihood is that he puts up a dud. And that's the way I'm leaning. I don't trust Nyheim Hines. And I'm not going to get there's no factual, there's no stat or factual information that's going to say, oh yeah, Nyheim Hines must start this week.
No.
So I'm not starting him. I'm not taking the chance. I think there's guys later in the week, who play on Sundays or a Monday even, that you could start and potentially or have better shot of actually, booming.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So, like I said, this is the point of the season where these short weeks start to matter because these guys are tired physically. They're banged up and stuff like that. So, there's only going to be a handful of guys who actually play well fantasy wise, unless it's a shootout. The over under for this game is 46. And to be honest, I think I'm going to take the under on this.
Yeah, you could. I think this is a game I would just stay away from personally. I think it can go either way. The Colts their defense has been looking really iffy. Some games they look really hot. Some games they've just been allowing everyone to do everything against them. And
Jets defense though is pretty underrated. That's why
Jets defense has been underrated.
That's why I think the under 46, and lower fantasy point totals for guys like Nyheim Hines. But
yeah, when we jump over to the receivers, though, we've got Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Jamison Crowder for the Jets. Any of them really tickling your fancy with Mike White at quarterback? The guy's got a 400-yard passing game under his belt. Justin Herbert can't say that.
Corey Davis is doubtful for Thursday Night Football. Honestly, I think Jamison Crowder becomes a flex option, especially in any form of PPR. I think he sees enough targets to be usable.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna agree there. I think Jamison Crowder is the only one that you want to be fitting into that flex position. Outside of that, none of these receivers are getting enough volume for you to comfortably play them over some of your other options, especially on a Thursday night game. And then obviously Michael Pittman has been balling out and is in line for another huge game. No TYs looks this week so far, so it does look like we're going to have another Michael Pittman blow up.
Yeah, I think Michael Pittman is going to be good, but I would temper your expectations because, like I said, the New York Jets defense is pretty underrated. So maybe temper your expectations just a little bit for him. But I think he has a wide receiver 2, usable wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 week, usable, and hopefully gets in the end zone.
I mean, I'll agree with you. They are underrated, but over the past 2 weeks, they've still been allowing like what was it, 46 points to the receiver, 45.9 points to the receivers. And that's because they've been getting into the big games. Most of the reasons that their defense has been keeping these receivers pretty in the bag has just been the fact that they've been getting absolutely trashed and demolished. So to me, it's going to be either a completely slow, less than 25-point game, or it's going to be a 50+ point game shootout between two teams that don't know what the F they're doing.
Yeah, like I said, my bet's on the slow under, but
yeah, I'm staying away from most of this game outside of Pittman.
Anybody else? Mo Alley Cox or anything like that?
No, I don't trust any of them in any sort of capacity to be consistent and worth taking a shot on. Mo Alley Cox got his 3 targets last week, wasn't able to come down with it. Jack Doyle led the tight end group in fantasy points, and again, not really interested in them.
Yep. All righty, guys, that is it. That is our news, notes, and Thursday night breakdown. Let's enjoy some Thursday night football. Like we said about Henry Ruggs, do not drink and drive. Go find an Uber, Lyft, family member, somebody to pick you up if you need it. Be safe out there, people. All right.
Have a great Thursday.